Hi, and welcome back to Love English. So, job interviews, university, work, meetings, business proposals, even meeting your boyfriend or girlfriend's parents can be pretty nerve-wracking situations. And of course, in all of these situations, you want to sound intelligent, smart. You want to make a good impression. And whether you are a native or non-native speaker of English, you really need to avoid these three things that I am going to explain when you are talking in English, if you want to sound intelligent and not, well, like her.
Thank God I can vent to you, like my sister, you get it. And at least we have each other, and it's like the holidays, and instead of being like, oh, my sister's not talking to me, we're like, whatever.
Yeah. So whatever your reason for wanting to sound more intelligent, smarter, making a good impression, and really to avoid sounding, well, a little bit stupid, you're going to want to avoid these three things in spoken English that, unfortunately, have become quite commonplace. By eliminating these three features of spoken, colloquial, informal English, you're going to instantly sound smarter and make a better impression. But unfortunately, these three features of English have become very commonplace. Why have they become so common? Why are people speaking in this rather dumb, stupid way? Well, good question. And in fact, this is my answer.
Tweet us where we should take.
You look so pretty.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I felt that. So do you.
That's right, total crap on TV. So today, let me help you avoid sounding like a Kardashian, like somebody who really just spends a lot of time doing their makeup and waxing their bikini lines. To be honest, you can sound a lot smarter than that, and no doubt you are. Sometimes the way we speak doesn't actually reflect the way we think. So in today's lesson, let's eliminate these three things from the way you communicate in English and help you sound more intelligent. Right, let's get started. Number one, and this is so simple, eliminating using these words. In fact, abbreviations in English are really going to help you sound more intelligent. Stop using text talk. OMG, LOL, or worse, LOL, FYI, TMI, what the So this is text talk. These are actually initializations. They're a form of abbreviation. Essentially, initializations are when we take a number of words, put them into one, but we actually say them as individual letters. VIP, RSVP, LOL. However, when we create a word with that abbreviation, it's actually an acronym. For example, in American English, they often say ASAP, whereas in British English, we'd use it more as an initialization and say ASAP. But saying ASAP, or I've heard VIP, actually, VIP, really, it makes you sound lazy. It makes you sound like you don't care enough to say the whole word. It makes sense in text language, even in informal emails, because you're trying to write something quickly and put a lot of information into a short message. But when you're speaking, there's really no excuse. Now, the worst one I have heard is someone actually saying lol, rather than LOL, which to be honest is just as bad, saying lol. Don't say lol, just laugh. Ha ha ha, it's funny, not lol, guys. It really does sound like you're lazy and, to be honest, a little bit unintelligent. So, number one, avoid using text talk when you speak. It's text talk for a reason. So, see if you can do that, and do let me know. Have you ever heard a native speaker talk like this? Just because they do it, it doesn't mean you should. Avoid it. Number two, one word in the English language, which when used in the incorrect way or overused really does make you sound a little bit like her. So the use of like in English, the overuse of it. There are actually 6 principal ways we use the word like. Number 5 and 6 I'm going to tell you in a minute, and these are the ways that will make you sound stupid. So the most common use of like is as a conjunction or a preposition. And of course, a verb. She used to have a car like mine. A preposition here in a comparison. Fine, no problem. You sound intelligent. She looks like she's having fun. She looks like she's having fun. Conjunction. No problem. That's the correct way to use it. Number 3, as a noun. What are your likes and dislikes? Number 4, as a verb. I really like chocolate. Perfectly acceptable. All those 4 ways of using like are fine and of course very common. However, number 5, using like as a quotative or in informal, colloquial, reported speech makes you sound, well, let's say it again, stupid. So in this way, we would have the subject plus verb to be plus like. He was like, she said you were single. And I was like, no, I have a boyfriend. And so he was like, well, whatever. You get the idea. There's a difference in the way I sound. It really isn't the best way to speak in more formal situations or situations where you want to make a good impression. It does sound unintelligent. Much better to say, he told me, he asked me, he said, fine. But he was like, whatever. Doesn't sound good. So the second reason we use like in this way is to express a feeling, express how we feel. So to say, I was like, whatever, I was like, how dare you? You're expressing your emotion rather than exactly reporting what you said. Essentially, you'll be paraphrasing what was actually said in the conversation and expressing the emotion behind it. I was like, no, I have a boyfriend. And then he was like, how dare you? You get the idea. And finally, the 6th reason that you would use like, but again, sounding unintelligent, is as a filler. And I've had this in classes with students, in seminars, in presentations, and I kind of want to pull my hair out when I hear them use like as a filler in this way. Just tidy my hair a bit now. Okay, so when you use like as a filler, basically you are using it in a way because you may be unsure of what you're saying, you may feel like you need to keep talking, and rather than using of course too many of these fillers don't sound good, but equally so, using like, consistently using like, really sounds terrible. It's unprofessional, it's unacademic, and it will not make a good impression. So let's have a look at an example sentence. First, I'm going to read the sentence to you in a normal tone without using like as a filler, and then I'm going to add like. So here we go. I think we should focus more on researching the topic before we start planning the report. I think we should focus more on researching the topic before we start planning the report. So there we have a very natural sentence. Now add the word like as a filler. I think we should focus more on the research before we start planning the report. 3 likes in one sentence, not needed at all. And of course, this is a really bad habit that people get into. The more you do it, the harder it's going to be to stop. So if you do find that you've picked up this habit through watching American movies, through watching reality TV, don't stop watching this if you enjoy it. I'm not saying you're not allowed to watch reality TV, although maybe the Kardashians are an exception there. But essentially what you want to be doing is making sure you mimic the kind of speaker you want to sound like. So potentially listening to politicians or, I don't know, Emma Watson. These celebrities and people actually speak in a more educated, formal way that makes a really good impression. So be careful who you choose to mimic when you are trying to practice your English. It's a great way to learn, but just be sure that you are learning from the right people. Sabrah and I would be perfect. Mimic us. We don't talk like that. No, we don't. Never.
But I remember when she was pregnant with either Mason or P, she was crying. Like, you or mom, like, didn't call her for like 2 weeks to say, like, how are you feeling, pregnant? And I'm like, you haven't even asked me one time, how am I feeling? Like, I don't think her not talking to us affects her. And that's so weird to me.
And in addition to this, some people also put like at the end of a sentence, a little bit like, you know what I mean? So sometimes this is actually because of regional differences in dialects. So in the north, you might hear the use of like in this way, but that's probably a little bit more natural. It's more associated with the region. We had such a great time, like. I think you might hear that in maybe Ireland or the north of England. But if it's somebody else speaking in this way, someone maybe from the south who you don't expect to talk in this way, it just doesn't sound very good. We had such a great time, like. It's a little bit like that. Right. Finally, number 3, and this is perhaps one of the worst things you can do when you're speaking English. It's not to do with vocabulary, with the words you use, but in fact, it's to do with your intonation. Uptalk, upspeak, rising intonation, upward inflection, high rising terminal or intonation, or indeed, as I like to call it, Kardashian talk. You starting to understand what I'm talking about? This is a way in speaking in which declarative statements, affirmative sentences, are spoken in the same way as questions. So in a question, we often have a full rising intonation. For example, where are you from? Where are you from? But in affirmative statements, it should really remain more flat. And in fact, you find a decreasing, a lowering of the intonation. I'm from Bournemouth. I'm from Bournemouth. So upspeak, uptalk, Kardashian talk is often associated with the west coast of America, with places like California, LA. Now, unfortunately, it is no longer limited by geography, and you will often hear particularly younger people in the UK speaking in this way. That's right, the Kardashians are everywhere. So of course, again, you're going to hear this kind of language in reality TV shows and certain movies, films, where they are trying to portray a character as being a little bit, well, clueless.
By the end of the day, it was like, the more the merrier. And so, if the government could just get to the kitchen, rearrange some things, we could certainly party with the Haitians.
You don't want to speak in a job interview or in a business meeting in a way that makes you sound unsure of yourself, lacking confidence. You want to sound assertive, sure, confident. So you don't want to speak like this.
She's like this whole like situation. That was amazing.
Wow, that's actually very good.
Thank you.
With uptalk, you find that there are a series of statements, so more than one, where the inflection, the intonation goes up at the end. These are affirmative sentences, not questions. And then the final sentence would usually have a falling intonation, a falling pitch at the end. So if I were to answer the question, where are you from? I'd say, from a small seaside town in the south of England. You might have heard of it. Bournemouth? It's about a 2-hour drive from London. Fine, standard, falling intonation at the end of those statements. With uptalk, let me get ready for my Kardashian debut. Right, with uptalk, it'll sound like this. From a small seaside town in the south of England. You might have heard of it? Bournemouth? It's about a 2-hour drive from London. It's pretty hard. It sounds strange. I'm trying my best. It's not a natural thing for me to do, to have a rising intonation on affirmative sentences. But you can see the difference in tone and really the impression that I will give in an interview or in a business meeting or at university. It really does sound like I'm not sure about what I'm saying. So that was the worst, the one that I really do hate to hear when people are speaking. And of course, all of these features of spoken English are very easy to eliminate from the way you speak. It just takes a little bit of practice. And as I said, choosing who you emulate and who you copy more carefully. So if you've heard any of these features of English or others, why not comment below and let me know. And of course, if you want any more tips or tricks to help you learn to speak a little bit more intelligent, you can have a look at some of our lessons here. And of course, don't forget, subscribe to the channel, click that little button and the notifications bell so you are notified when we've got more lessons to help you sound intelligent in English. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.